Hello and welcome to another Israeli Frenemies. We had a packed week. We have a lot to talk about. Hi, Ari Fold. How are you?
Fantastic. We had an amazingly packed week. Some good, some bad, but it was definitely a packed week. I think we're going to have a great show today.
I think so too. So let's dive right into the issues.
So this week, Israel had a very special visit. In fact, the whole Middle East had a special visit. President Donald J. Trump traveled from Saudi Arabia, then into Israel, met with the Prime Minister of Israel, and then met with Mr. Abbas, Abu Mazen. And the echo of that trip, I think, is going to be going on for a long time. The question that remains, I think, in all our minds is, what does it mean? Where is he going from here? I think, personally, the fact that he went into the web of the Islamic regimes and pointed a finger and said, guys, you got to be involved in fighting radical Islamic terrorism. Then he went to Abbas and in his face said to him, you got to stop paying terrorists. And then he gave a very big hug to Israel. I mean, I think it was a great visit. What he's going to do in the future? You know what? I would have put my money on it.
Still to be seen. Still to be seen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think, look, first of all, I agree with your analysis. It was an important visit. I think viewers who are watching us regularly know that I'm a big fan of President Obama. I thought he did a great job as the leader of the free world, but I think he did some mistakes vis-a-vis the Middle East, and not necessarily regarding policy, but regarding, how would I say it, personal warmth. And I think what Trump did, both in Saudi Arabia, with the Saudi king himself, and with the leadership of the Middle East, Middle Eastern countries and Muslim countries, and especially here in Israel, I think he reads the Israeli public better. I think for Israelis many times, and you know, some past leaders knew how to do it very well, like Anwar Sadat, the late Egyptian president, who knew exactly which buttons to push.
Well, he was serious afterwards.
He was serious, but he was also very warm. Once he decided to be here, King Hussein as well, and Bill Clinton had that very much. I mean, regardless whether you were from the right or the left.
I agree with you. 100%.
And Obama neglected this point of reaching out to the Israelis, who are very, how would I say it, sensitive to how they are treated. And I think Trump, in that manner, did the right thing. He didn't say anything, by the way.
Well, he said a lot of things. He said, I think there were three things, in my opinion, I think there were three things that he said, which to me, my jaw dropped. They really hit the floor. The first thing he said, which I think if I was a Muslim, I'd be offended. He said Jews praise their prayers in the Western Wall. The Christians pray in the church of the special, I think it was in the Old City. And then he said the Muslims pray in their holy sites. He would not mention Al-Aqsa. To me, it was mind-blowing. I didn't think it was good or bad. I just thought it was shocking. In other words, that's our least place. That was one. And then he said, when he talked about Jerusalem, and he said the Jews' heritage here, his quote was, is ancient and eternal. I mean, that was mind-blowing to me. That was fantastic.
But he didn't, what he didn't say, there were many talks in his campaign and on the eve of his arrival about moving the embassy, nothing about that.
Right, absolutely, no, I understand.
He went to the Kotel, to the Wailing Wall on his own with no official Israeli presence. And what we hear that behind the scenes, he's now talking on issues that after, you know, making this warm reception, which will be very hard to criticize him afterwards, his people are talking now about switching areas C to areas B
it's a report.
in the West Bank for the Palestinian Authority. They are talking about renewal of the negotiations with serious talks about a two-state solution.
No mention.
That's what the background, I don't know.
Here's the thing. I want to, you know, someone who's, I told you, I was pro-Trump more because the choices were not really good for me. I'll be frank with you. If he goes the other way, I'll stand here and say, I'm very disappointed. In fact, I'm very disappointed.
But you would not say he's anti-Semitic or pro-Muslim,
let me finish my sentence.
things that you used to say to on Obama.
What I'm saying about Trump is the following. I think he went, you know, further than any other president in terms of his statements, in terms of his warmth. In other words, he didn't mention a two-state solution. He didn't mention a Palestinian state by the PLO, not by us. When he's saying Abbas, he never mentioned them. Abbas was talking about the settlements, about this. He didn't mention it. He said, you got to stop paying terrorists. He went to Saudi Arabia. He didn't mention Israel at all. He said, you got, one second. And then he came to Israel.
Fine. Okay, but that was, yeah, but we have a very short time.
Then he came to Israel. He didn't mention settlements. He didn't mention this. Nothing.
You're
nothing.
completely right. And I'm not, and I think neither the right nor the left at this point can rejoice on his statements. I think some
I can rejoice on his statements. I don't know what he's going to do, but I can rejoice
exactly.
on his statements.
I think that his statements can lead to anything. And I think if he's actually going to go for a process now, I think in objective, from an objective point of view, he has a much better way to start a negotiation than his predecessor in that sense, because he's so welcomed here now. And he did some of those symbolic issues. So this week in Israel, there is a public holiday of the Jerusalem Day, commemorating the unification of the city. I should say that I'm not celebrating that public holiday. I believe that Jerusalem has never been united, at least not since '67. But I don't want to cling to what I think. We heard the president of Israel this week, a true believer in United Jerusalem, a true right-winger who believes in the greater Israel, who said we cannot celebrate the Jerusalem Day as long as the Palestinians are not treated equal.
We can't celebrate Jerusalem Day.
He said that the celebration is not full and I'm not going to rejoice because the Palestinians, that's what he said.
He said we can't fully rejoice, I understand.
Okay, he said, that's what he said, and he said because the Palestinians are not treated equally in the city and are in poverty. And last week you said everybody's equal, and you told me bring digits, bring data. So I brought some data. 40% of Jerusalem are Palestinians. Okay, of the population of Jerusalem are Palestinians living mostly in East Jerusalem, or all of them living in East Jerusalem. 76% of the Palestinians live below the poverty line. In Israel,
were you talking about only in those areas? You're talking about in all of Israel?
Only the Palestinians in the East Jerusalem, only in the Palestinian neighborhoods. 76% out of the children, the Palestinian children in Jerusalem, almost 84% are below the poverty line. I'll continue. There are 2,000 missing classrooms in East Jerusalem.
Where's this information from? I'd like to know.
This is the information from Ir Amim, which is a. Excuse me. The president of Israel accepted it. Hold on, let me finish.
Just tell me the sources. It's a left-wing organization.
A very serious
left-wing organization.
Fine.
Okay.
So what? Left-wing can.
I want to know where the numbers are from.
These are real numbers.
From them.
It's real numbers.
From a left-wing organization.
Okay. Only 4 welfare centers in East Jerusalem to 19 in West Jerusalem. Okay. And again, 40% of Jerusalem are Palestinians.
Good.
And this is something that is not for them. This is from Channel 10 this week. No trash collection in the big neighborhoods of East Jerusalem that are behind the wall. There's a wall. The viewers should know that. Although there's a wall, Shoafat is behind the wall.
Hold on.
Some of the East Jerusalem neighborhoods that are part of the municipal area of Jerusalem.
There's no wall there.
There is a wall.
No, I travel there every day.
Okay.
Ramat Shlomo is right next door. There's no wall there.
Oh, look.
And if there's a wall, they're under the PA, not under Israel.
It's under Israel municipal. It's under Jerusalem municipal. Municipal. There is a wall. No. There is. Look, Ari, you can't do that. You can't come here and say.
I'm there every day. Ramat Shlomo. It's the Jewish neighborhood is right next to. There's no wall. And if there's a wall, let me answer.
It's a refugee camp. It's behind a wall. Okay. And you know what? Next week I'll bring photos.
Let me answer your claims. First of all, number one. Okay, number one, the Arabs in Jerusalem are called residents of Jerusalem. They refused Palestinian citizenship. And what we're going to speak about. Listen to me for a second. They were offered to become.
There's no Palestinian state.
Let me please finish my sentence. They were offered to become Palestinian citizens and residents of Jerusalem. They refused that because they want Israeli citizenship. The demand for Israeli citizenship by those Arabs, by the way, is up triple. Okay, so if you're talking about such horrible situations...
These are the numbers.
Listen to me, or you're from a left-wing organization. Listen to me.
No, these are the numbers
from a left-wing organization.
From the Israeli
Let me finish my sentence,
Statistics Bureau.
2 minutes, 3 minutes, let me speak. If the situation is so horrible, Why are they refusing their national citizenship and begging for Israeli
They
citizenship?
they don't have a state. What are you talking about?
Again, they were offered PA citizenship.
There's
under
no
the PA.
such thing
There's
as
no
PA citizenship. No.
No?
The PA is not a sovereign. He
One
can't
second,
bring
the PA is not
citizenship.
controlling the Arabs in Judea and
PA is
Samaria?
an administrative body
And they
which
receive-
cannot.
they
There's
receive-
no such thing.
Ori,
No,
they
but
receive-
don't tell our viewers things that don't
Ori,
exist.
Ori,
There's no such thing
Finish?
because there's no Palestinian
Let
state.
me finish the sentence.
I won't. No, I won't let you
Okay,
distort reality.
They have ID cards, national ID cards belonging to the PA and not Israel.
But they live under Israeli sovereignty. not
Again,
under
listen
the
what I'm
PA.
telling you. The people in Jerusalem were offered that. They said no, they want Israeli
They
citizenship.
never offered that.
They were
It's
offered
false.
that.
It's false because
show-
Israel would not
Ori, let me finish the
disunite
sentence.
Jerusalem, right?
Let me finish the sentence for one second.
When was it? When
So
was it offered?
I will bring it in for you.
Please,
I'll
yeah, so
bring it
next week bring it in.
In terms of the Arabs and Jews, they're giving residents of Jerusalem.
The PA was
Let me finish
was
my
kicked
sentence
out
for a
of
second.
Jerusalem.
Wow.
What are you talking about?
Could
The
you-
Orient House,
Or you-
because
The
Israel
Orient
regards
House, hold on,
East Jerusalem as part of Israel.
Hold on, Al Husseini was in the Orient House, a man who was advocating
But
for
there's
terrorism.
no way for
Stop.
Jerusalem
Okay.
Jerusalemite
Again,
Arabs to
Ori,
receive
let me
Israeli
answer-
citizenship.
Let me answer your claims.
Or Palestinian
Let me answer your claims,
cards.
please. Let me answer your claims. Put into account who owns a house. Put into account their property management, which you're not putting into account. Put into account their taxes, which you're not putting into account. The Arabs and the residents of Jerusalem. Okay, so if we're talking about the Arab-Israeli problem, Muslim-Jewish problem, or if we want to say Palestinian-Israeli problem, any way you want to define this, we got a problem. And the question is, what's the solution? So I always tell people that you cannot find a solution until you define a problem. Imagine a man walking into a hospital saying, my arm's hurting you, and the doctor says, well, we don't know what to do, so let's cut off the arm and everything will be happy. I don't believe in that. We got to get to the basic problem, the definition. And here's where the solution begins. If you don't define the problem, you can't find the solution. If we're talking about land, and again, we'll discuss this together in a second, between 1948 and 1967, the Arabs had every inch of what they call disputed land today. Those are the years when the PLO was actually created to destroy Israel, so the problem is not land. If we're talking about Israel, in 1929, the Muslims in Hebron slaughtered the Jewish population in Hebron, so it must not be Israel either. In my humble opinion, the problem originally was Arab nationalism, and today is more of an radical Islamic problem, since all the terrorists who are killing Jews under the Palestinian claim over the last 30 years have been from that faith. Now, it's not saying that all Muslims are terrorists, God forbid. That's saying that we have a radical Islamic problem. Therefore, the solution has to be connected to that, and not to some fabricated national claim of the Palestinians or whatnot, because the murder and the terrorism was going on long before any of that happened. So that being said, my solution is very simple. Any Muslim or Arab who wants to live peacefully under Israel, as the Jewish democratic state, by the way, we say in Arabic, ahlan wa sahlan, you're welcome. There are certain ramifications and boundaries that we have to put because we want a Jewish state. And the Arabs who live under Israel, who are loyal, have a very nice life. And
Hold on, but you
Yes.
want to give the 2.5 million Palestinians living in the West Bank
It's a good question.
the
So
right to vote in Israel?
Good. My answer is the following. Those Arabs were given Jordanian citizenship in 1948. When Jordan occupied Judea and Samaria, they gave all Arabs living there Jordanian citizenship. By international law, once a refugee receives citizenship of a third country, he's no longer considered a refugee. The fact that Jordan stripped them of their nationality in 1967 is horrible. They should be given Jordanian citizenship and be residents of Israel with full human rights, everything from education
Did you ask
to health.
the Jordanians
Well,
whether
you
they're
didn't really
okay
ask,
with that?
but you didn't ask the Jews living in Judea and Samaria if you want to kick them out of their homes. You're okay with doing that?
But they're citizens of my country, not the citizens of any other country.
But they occupied that area. No, it was the Hashemite kingdom. The Hashemite kingdom.
we had peace
Hold
with
on,
with
hold on.
Jordan
No, I'm not
since.
talking about Israel. I'm talking about justice. You're a man of justice,
But
right?
we had-
There's one thing that I respect you of, and I do. You're a man of justice.
I
a man of human
appreciate
rights.
what you say.
So, Jordan.
And I hope that
of course, but we don't respect. I respect you, and for that,
we have different
absolutely.
understandings.
I hold you up on that pedestal. I know that the left is not coming. Most of them, I really do. It's not coming from a bad place. They're coming from human rights. I believe that. The Hashemite kingdom came in and occupied an area that's 70+% of what was British Palestine. Today, that occupation in Jordan is over 74% Arabs who define themselves Palestinians. That's where Palestine should be. Now, whether they agree with it or not was never a matter of justice. In other words, I don't agree.
So just let me understand. Your solution is Jordan is Palestine.
My solution is one of two. Either historically or in terms of justice, that should be Palestine. They have the majority of, one second. They have the majority of Arabs consider themselves Palestinians. They occupy the majority of British Palestine. But even if they don't become Palestine, at least Jordan should give the Arabs in the West Bank Jordanian citizenship and let them be residents of Israel on two conditions. Number one, they accept the fact that it's a Jewish country. And number two, they don't fight Israel. They don't have any plans with a fabricated national claim to take over Israel.
Okay,
that's my solution.
All right, I think that your solution is just not feasible. And,
that's not an answer.
And immoral.
And immoral? How is it immoral?
Because you want people who live under your sovereignty to be citizens. You want to make them citizens of another country.
No.
It just doesn't make any sense.
They were citizens. They were stripped of their citizenship. The people who stripped them of their citizenship give them citizenship back.
Perhaps according to your logic, then the same way as Jordan gave them full citizenship and full rights, Israel now, since they're living under Israel for the last 50 years, should give them citizenship as well.
No, they're not.
And I'll tell you what my...
they're not. They're not living in Israel. Not even the Arabs in Jerusalem. The Arabs in Jerusalem have...
They live exactly in the area where you live.
Here's my proof.
Where you get all the Israeli rights, and they're not getting
They're not
anything.
Israelis. Here's the proof, by the way.
Exactly. But hold on, I want to elaborate on my...
The Arabs in Jerusalem, they have Jordanian passports. And one of the reasons that they're scared to become citizens, by the way, is because Jordan will strip them as well.
And okay, we can talk about Jerusalem.
No, I'm just saying.
Jerusalemites. It was always
Jordan.
It was reported.
Jordan built the refugee camps, not Israel.
I want to have also my
Go right ahead.
to this. My observation on what's going on vis-a-vis the Palestinians is not the Palestinians what they need, but what Israel needs. The Zionist vision, the Zionist notion, the Zionist movement, since it was created, was about two pillars. The first pillar is that Israel is the Jewish homeland. The second pillar, from Herzl, Jabotinsky, Ben Gurion, Begin, and Rabin, was that this Jewish homeland, when it becomes a state, it will be a democratic state. Now, you are in control, full control, of the lives of 2.5 million Palestinians.
Incorrect.
In the West Bank.
Incorrect, Uri. The PA is in charge, not me.
The PA is an administrative body, doesn't have any sovereignty. Okay.
All civil control.
But the de facto sovereign there, the belligerent occupier,
is
Israel.
IDF doesn't go into Bethlehem. IDF doesn't leave Bethlehem.
It does. Not true. By the way, it does.
Only when they distract terrorists.
It does.
Uri,
they do it a lot.
Hold on. Trump went to Bethlehem.
Hold on.
Trump went to
Bethlehem.
It can. Who was in charge of the security?
I won't distract.
I know that possible that today it was also a terror attack. We're still investigating. Tel Aviv, Frenemies, Tel Aviv.
So, as part of the visit of the historical visit of Donald Trump in Israel, which was a diplomatic high, there were a few lows. We saw a few of them. One was the Minister of Interior Security talking about a terrorist attack that never occurred, and he knew it didn't occur. He had to know before talking to the leader of the free world. We had also MK Oren Khazan, who took a selfie, in this very official handshaking moment, took a selfie with the president. And we had the royal couple themselves, Netanyahu and the first Israeli, or not the first lady is of the president, but Sarah Netanyahu. Talking about,
I like to call them royal couple.
Talking about how they act in a big royal manner. Talking about how their house is how poor they are that only when Trump visited could they paint their house and stuff like that. Now, I should say, by the way, the biggest controversy was around the selfie of Oren Khazan. I thought that what Minister Ardan did was much worse because he showed how shallow this usage of
I don't
the terrorist
think
attack.
he knew. I don't think he knew.
He should have known. He should have
well-
checked before, and he has a history with that. But put that aside. The Oren Khazan incident, I should say, talking about a diplomatic or non-diplomatic behavior when it comes to President Donald Trump, who's the most non-diplomatic figure sitting on that in the Oval Office ever, it's kind of strange. I mean, I think that Trump could have done something like that himself a few years back.
I don't think. I know for Israel, I would say it was embarrassing as the state. The action itself, I don't think there was a better person he could have done it to. In other words, his whole life, his whole election was done through Twitter. That's who he is. He's part of that new generation. I wouldn't have done it. I don't think it's diplomatically
No, me neither.
polite. But you know what?
But I would not vote for Trump either.
Okay, but I don't think that the selfie was, oh my God, I don't think it was, in the state was embarrassing, but the action itself, I don't know, someone walks down the street and say, hey, can I have a selfie? It's pretty cool. But again, Trump, if it happened to anyone, it happened to Trump, I think it's not so bad. The man, lives on Twitter. In terms of what the minister did, look, unfortunately, in our country, the number of ramming attacks that were accidental are much less than the number of ramming attacks that were terrorism. Now, I don't think for a second that he knew that it was an accident. I thought he was pretty
before
positive.
you talk with the American president, you should check your facts.
He assumed incorrectly.
And this was 2 hours after that, and the police already knew.
No, they didn't say anything. And he assumed incorrectly. By the way, in England, the Manchester attack, which again, of course, we send our condolences to all those who were killed and injured, they didn't release the fact it was a terrorist till hours later, which was
responsible.
But even though they
before
had the person,
you're sure,
right. So
check your facts.
I think he made an assumption. I think the assumption was wrong, and therefore, by default, that he made a fool out of himself.
But he's done it for at least the second time.
I don't know about the other times.
With Khiran in the Negev desert,
it could be.
where he said that this guy that accidentally, apparently because of a police shooting, ran over a police officer. He said he's related to ISIS.
No, but it was a terrorist attack at the end. Not just say it was related to ISIS.
No, it wasn't a terrorist attack. This guy was shot by a crossfire of the police. He didn't do anything. And
if I'm thinking about the same case you're talking about, his Jeep was going right at the so it was a terrorist attack.
It wasn't a terrorist attack.
I don't know.
No,
I don't know.
It wasn't.
I'm not sure of the facts. I don't want to talk about that. But again, I think what Ardan did was it was an assumption, and you know what they say about making an assumption. I'm not going to say it on live TV. But in terms of Khazan, that was silly. He's not a minister. It's not anything. It was a silly move.
He will be now.
What was the last? Oh, in terms of Netanyahu, I don't think he said he was poor. I think maybe he said...
Yeah, that was like,
chit-chat.
Oh, look at we got the privilege to paint it, we're so poor.
I think the chit-chat between the president and our prime minister shows some kind of friendly relationship between them. I don't know if that's such a big deal. I don't know. Again, diplomacy, I think that in Israel, we have to work on that on a general basis. I think that, our behavior, we're very... What's the word? We jump the gun. We do things sometimes without thinking. It's the Israeli, that's why we are the startup nation. We're not scared of risks. That's good. But when you're running, hey, take a selfie, that's bad.
Yeah,
so I think, behavior-wise, we have to figure out how to be more diplomatic. That's true. I don't know if I would have had Trump dancing with swords like they did in Saudi Arabia.
or with that bowl of light.
The sphere of light.
Yeah.
But we definitely figured it out. Again, but you know what I think? I think we live in a reality that we have to be, as we say in Hebrew, tachlis. All right, well, it's that time of the show. We're going to give a good word, and I want to give this good word to my family. Those of us who work in politics, I think, we're doing a lot of stuff all around, and sometimes the family, unfortunately, takes a back seat. So I want to tell my wife and say thank you to her, Miriam. Without you, I wouldn't be able to do any of this stuff, and my kids have been very patient. Really, I haven't been home this whole week, not a minute. I get home every night, 2 o'clock in the morning. So my good word goes out to you, family. I love you, and I have to thank you where I am and what I'm doing. It's all in your, I give the credit all to you. That's my good word this week.
Well, I'll join you, although my family is very political, so we're both.
Oh, your wife's, your partner's in the Knesset, right?
That's true. So, but it's hard, but we manage. But yeah, that good word I said to the family and to myself, I join you.
And I want to send our condolences to all those in Manchester who were hurt and killed in that horrific attack. All of Israel stands behind you. So wish you have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you next week on Frenemies.